I think if we really want to break out from the norm, which is to get to 50 and your body's and you're depressed, and you want to do anything different, like what you're doing, then you have to address these underlying things. And I think that it's important to talk about it because I think everyone has them.
Matt, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on board.
Thanks, man. Good to be here.
Yeah, look, we go back a long way. But when we first started chatting at that barbecue, you were running about 10 people as a personal trainer business. Is that correct? Yeah, is that where you were at then?
Yeah, so I started off as a personal trainer. Interestingly, I originally got into personal training because I wanted to learn how to lift weights properly. And I did a personal training course really just to learn. I wasn't even really sure if I wanted to become a personal trainer, but I was looking for trying out, you got to try stuff out to work out what you're good at and what you like. And so did a course, ended up being really good at it, and had a personal training business, I think for about 3 or 4 years. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, well, that's when we were talking about health and well-being and holistic stuff about, what else you were into to maintain your health. And then you made an incredible transition to the Coaching Institute. You were studying there to be a life coach, and we had a conversation, and next minute we know you've gone into the full-blown life coaching, and now you're the lead trainer there. So tell me a little bit about the transition and what's happened in your life there.
Yeah. Well, it's two things that got me to, I guess, transition into it. The first thing is it was a natural progression to go from personal training to coaching, because for anyone that's in the health realm at all, if it's yoga or personal training or naturopathy, you'll know that your clients have more problems than you can help with one area. I remember my clients would assume that I knew the answers to things like, why am I stressed? And as a 24, 25-year-old guy, I didn't know a thing about why anyone was stressed. I didn't know why I was stressed. And so I think initially it was just the realization that, okay, I'm being asked so many different questions. And I'm being presented with these different problems. I remember one of my clients was this pretty overweight dude, and he would train with me nearly every day sometimes. Wow. If he didn't train with me, he would work out, and he would sometimes work out twice a week, and he wouldn't lose any weight. He would sometimes put it on more. He was strong, but his body was just under so much stress that it wouldn't change. And I remember thinking to myself, I remember feeling bad about taking his money and being like, actually had a sit down chat with him. And I was like, we need to implement something else inside this relationship, because you're paying me a couple $100 every week, and I'm going to smash you because that's what I know to do as a personal trainer, and put stress on your body, like good stress, but I don't know how to reduce the stress that you've got. And so that was the first thing that got me to kind of become curious. The second thing was I worked on a cruise ship for a couple of months because I broke up with a girl in a local girl, and wanted to run away and escape the world and shit. Thought I would leave to go to another country, as you do. That's right. And I worked on a cruise ship from LA to Mexico and did a round trip. And one of the things that we did on the cruise ship is we had to run these seminars, and I got some basic training in how to run seminars, but it wasn't really like anything about presenting skills. You just had to remember this script. And that kind of gave me the taste for the fact that you could be a professional speaker, and that was a job. That was an industry. You could get good at training people in things and teaching people things. And I just felt like that really fit me quite well, because I like being on stage. I I DJ'd since I was, you can see the gear in the background. I've DJ'd since I was like 18. So I've always liked being on stage. And I think coaching was able to put those two things together. I could become a presenter, and then I could work out behind the scenes. So why do some people lose weight and why do some people not lose weight? Why are some people amazingly committed and why are some people not committed? And they were the two things that drove me to start learning about coaching.
Yeah, that's cool. I went down a similar track. I was always looking for answers for other people. So then I got into the NLP and the behavioral modeling and viable systems model, integral theory, and the list is endless. And what I found, Matt, is that no matter how much you guided people, it was what was actually going on inside their head.
Yeah.
Which really depicted the whole game. And, often you'll see people going for their goals and trying to achieve things, and you'll notice they're sabotaging and shooting themselves in the foot. How often did you see that in personal training and in the health arena?
I think it would probably be more like 80% of the time.
Wow.
I think every now and then I would meet someone who didn't have any of those hang-ups, and they would get results amazingly quick. And that they would become my success stories. The people that would just implement what you would tell them to do, because it's not like health and fitness is not that hard. Once you understand the basics of it, but it's your thinking that fucks you up.
Yeah, every time.
Right? It's like, it's not that hard to stop eating fast food. Like do you know what I mean? The logic of it. The logic of it's easy. The logic of it makes so much sense. It's like, okay, well, even if you don't know what to do, you could go for a walk for 20 minutes a day, and that would be better than nothing. And at least that's going to move your lymphatic system and get your body going. But the emotional reasons behind why people don't do that, or the emotional reasons behind why people would maybe overwork and stress themselves out, or overeat, or skip their training because they're not motivated. The emotional reasons, that's the biggest problem. Knowing what to do, I think, is the easiest thing. Doing it is the hardest thing.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to a congruency, and inner and outer congruency for me. Like, for instance, if your self-esteem is low, to remain congruent to that self-esteem contextual marker, you have to behave in a certain way. One of the things that changed my health radically was when I set a belief about myself, which changed my self-esteem. And that would be that for my age, I would be a world-class athlete. Then I chose different foods, different actions, different habits, and different behaviors. It made a profound difference, just shifting my self-love, the belief I had around myself. So in the Coaching Institute, and what you do as lead trainer, how do you address this holistic thing about health and well-being? Because there's going to be no success coaches out there that are going to be successful if they're not walking the talk, because people have got people like you under a microscope, and they're saying, well, if this guy's going to tell me how to live my life or, improve things, how's it going for him? It's like going to an accountant that's broke, or a doctor that's sick. So how does the Coaching Institute and yourself address those issues about your holistic health and well-being?
Well, at the school, we don't really talk about health that much, as in we just mention that it's important to value it. Mm-hmm. But because we're not experts in drilling down on anything, we don't drill down on it. But one of the things that I say inside the school all the time is, if you've got your health, you can have as many goals as you like. But if you don't have your health, you've got one goal, which is to get your health back. And so I always make sure that I prioritize it in the school and say, your health is everything. And if you don't have that, there's nothing else that's worth experiencing, because your experience of life is diminished because you can't experience it properly. It's like driving around a car that's all beat up and fucked up, and you can't drive it over 20 because it's broken and you want to get out on the highway. The thing from a thinking point of view that we address, which is the biggest contributor to someone's success or their failure, is we look at all of the unconscious reasons why someone would hold themselves back. And I think that most people understand the word self-sabotage, word self-sabotage. I think that's pretty much mainstream now. We're like, oh yeah, I do that. I hold myself back. But why do people hold themselves back? In my experience over the last 9 years of being in the industry, and just from what I study myself, I think that the major cause for self-sabotage are addictions. And addictions manifest in ways that people don't relate to the word addiction. Because it's obvious that if you're a heroin addict or an alcohol addict, that's quite obvious. You probably can't hide that.
Or a chocolate.
Or a chocoholic, well, you can kind of hide that, right? You might be able to maintain that one. But I think that from my experience and my own experience myself, and from what I've seen, and I've coached and worked with thousands of people that have done our courses, and tens of thousands of people that haven't done our courses that have come to free events all around the world, is that most people have had somewhat of a traumatic childhood. And I don't think anyone can escape a traumatic childhood. I don't know anyone. And I think that people misunderstand what I'm saying. They think it means that you have to have been sexually abused. And obviously a lot of people have, and that's horrible. But a lot of people haven't, and they still have traumatic childhoods simply because their parents were emotionally unavailable, which is the norm. You know, if you had emotionally aware parents, then you won the lottery. You know, if you're, especially your age, or even my age, you know, it's changing. And there's people becoming more aware of this, but I think like emotionally unaware parenting is just the way we were all raised.
That's profound.
And so what was that?
That's profound.
Yeah. And how you responded to that defines how you orient yourself in the world right now. Like, I'll give you, like, for example, you know, my family, I've got siblings, and I'm the only one in my family that has my health. Now, I've still had health problems, but I'm the only one who has it. I'm the only one in my family that has financial success. And I'm the only one in my family that has what I would say long-term relationship success. And I think about that a fair bit. I think, how come? Why am I different? And I think, sure, there's a level of choices that I've made that are different, you know, because I think that it's important to acknowledge personal responsibility. But then I think that there's also an underlying factor, which is just that through my way of managing my own pain, I chose healthier addictions like work, right? Like I became addicted.
That's questionable, but go on.
For sure. Well, it's better than food or alcohol, right? For a long-term health benefit. Now, it's still negative. But I think that most people are addicted to their smartphones. They're addicted to drama. They're addicted to being a victim. They're addicted to like sex or pornography. A lot of people are addicted to taking care of people, and they don't know how to take care of themselves. And so
behavior.
That's it. And so all of those things, I think if we really want to break out from the norm, which is to get to 50 and your body's fucked and you're depressed, and you want to do anything different, like what you're doing, then you have to address these underlying things. And I think that it's important to talk about it, because I think everyone has them. That's
interesting, because I did get to 50 and my body was, as you put it, fkchealth, and I had to, it was my dad's funeral was the turnaround for me, because he was very successful and healthy right up till he lived till 97. And I remember at the eulogy, I said, I'd like to be at least half the man he was. I was about, 1/50th of the man he was at the time. And I had to take some decisive action. And I'm glad I did, because if you're dragging your sorry butt through life at my age, I mean, I get criticised a lot because I hang with the younger crowd. I'm right into the youth thing. I'm into the youth thing because most of the people in my age, not all of them, but most, are with walking frames and bingo, and they're shut down. Their vision for the future is the sofa and Netflix. and I'm good to go. I'm out there living my life, looking around, saying, where is everybody? What happened? I never forget these words. I took my dad to the aged care. I think it was at Claremont Terrace. Beautiful place. He gets in there and I say, what do you think, Dad? This is pretty swish. This is a nice aged care thing. He was really disconcerted. I said, what's the matter? He said, they're all old people. I said, Dad, you're 91. And he goes, but they're old. Because he's just come from his swimming club. Yes, he had a stroke and he was impaired and he had to go there, but he was so independent, so alive and so vibrant right up to the end. And that's something that we talked about earlier in the piece when I said to you, where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15, 20 years? And, we want to still be jamming and partying and living our lives. So I just so admire the path you took and the way that you've integrated all your knowledge, because you get to reach out and touch a lot of lives the way you do. So what are some of your recent success stories with some of the clients that you had?
Well, before I answer that, I want to share a little bit about what drives me to be a better version of myself. And the answer is really, really simple, because I get people ask me this question a bit. What motivates you? And we talk about it in the school, like, how do you motivate someone? And so I'm simply motivated by not wanting the life that most people have. I just see how bad it is. And I think that this is something I think about a fair bit, actually. I think that there's a way of looking at the world where you can desensitize yourself to what is a problem and accept it and not face it as if it's a problem. So, for example, I remember when my uncle, you'll remember this, but one of my uncles passed away, Uncle Grant. He died from a throat cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he died of throat cancer. My other uncle died of brain cancer. My step-grandfather died of blood cancer. My grandma died of breast cancer. My other grandpa died of diabetes. It's like there's so much ill health in the family. And I don't believe that it's genetic. I think that's bullshit. I think that is a way to opt out of doing anything about it. So I think that there may be predispositions to things, but I think that the major lever you can pull is how you live your life today. And I remember that there was a time when my mum she got a tiny little bit of a cancerous lump on her tongue and on her hand, and she was smoking at the time. And she's like, okay, I've got to give up. I'm like, great, that's a great idea. And then I think a couple of weeks later, I saw her smoking, and we were out there was like a family event. And I said to her that I was really angry at her. I said that what you're doing is stupid. And I understand that it's an addiction and it's a problem. We need to work through it and face all of the pain and everything like that. But I think it's dumb because you're willingly killing yourself. Mm. And other people at that event had a go at me for saying that to her. And they said, why are you saying that? You should just leave her. And so I've noticed that thinking destroys people. So the thinking where you let someone kill themselves because you don't want to tell them the truth. I think that is the problem, because people don't face what's bad. And if you can face it, then it's uncomfortable when you face it. But when you face it, you can change it. Like, I remember I had a woman that came to me once and she said, I wanted to become a coach. And she was telling me about how she's wanted to do it for years and how inspired she is by other people. And she'd love to be able to help others. And then at the end of the conversation, she goes, oh, but my husband, he won't let me do it. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, what do you mean your husband won't let you do it? And I said it to her like I was a human talking to a human, not a salesperson talking to someone who wants to buy a course. I was like, are you going to accept that? Now, I understand that that's a big cultural thing and people go, oh, but that's their culture and that's just how people grow up. but it's still a shit way to live life, to let someone that you love hold you back. And so I was trying to get her to face that reality. And I think a lot of people, they cushion it and they go, oh yeah, but you don't understand. And she learned that from her mum. Sure, doesn't change that it's horrible. And if you don't face what sucks, then you can't change it. So I think that's all I've done, is I just look at, well, nearly everyone I'm in my family, I think is depressed, is overweight, broken on the government payments. That's a fact. That's not a judgment. Everyone in my family is supported by my tax. Everyone.
Yeah, that's
and
incredible.
So I just don't want that.
No, I realized some time ago that I broke through some barriers and I was free and I was happy. And I decided to drive my own bus, which was a big deal. That means no one tells me how to live my life. No one. Now, recently I've let a few people do that for an experiment, and I found it so horrible, so unpleasant. I started to experience feelings that I thought were routed out of my life. Now, originally I pushed back pretty hard on these people. I was a bit aggressive and a bit rude. And then I realized I attracted it. I allowed it. I have not got the right boundaries, and I need to quietly and firmly just say no. So I started to do that. People went away, new people came, and I felt better. I think coaching, life coaching, and the whole healthy thing is our finances are health, our relationships are health, our emotions and the way we face into life is health. So I really admire the stand you've taken. You said it stops here, generational. I know what happens. It's the nature and nurture. You're born into a family. You learn from the culture that everyone gets sick, so you get sick alongside everyone else, or you get oppressed, depressed, or used and abused. You just environmentally take it all on. But the day you decide to get up, dust yourself off and walk out of that situation, and I'm saying walk out of that situation, it's what you allow, you wear. And the hard part is you do get addicted to those influences. And another thing is the way you've made all those connections is by the way you're being. So the moment you shift that being, you become invisible to them because they can't see you as the resource they had to support their habits and addictions. So really, it's a journey for the brave. It's like, oh my God, the guy jumps in the river, and Richard Bach's story, I think it's in Illusions of a Reluctant Messiah or Livingston Seagull, where the guy jumps into the water and they go, oh, you're going to drown. He's going to be dashed on the rocks. He floats to the surface and goes down and waves to everyone and go, oh, there goes the Messiah. He didn't die. It's so hard to unplug from that world that was created for you and you recreated and perpetuated by compliance. And then one day you go, no, I'm going to do my life differently.
Yeah.
And then all your relationships change. A lot break. All the way you're perceived, even your self-esteem and your identity and the things that give you validation and acknowledgement, they all get smashed. And I know you've gone through this several times. So, yeah.
One of the reasons why I feel grateful to be alive now and have access to the internet, because, one of the things that I've always said is I've been smart enough to know that if I just listen to my own thoughts and the people around me, I'm fucked. I was smart enough to realize that early on, because it's really simple. You just look around at all the people around you and you think, do I want what they've got? Like, you just look around your family and your friends and you go, all right, that person's 60 or 70 and they've got ill health. Do I want that? No, then don't do what they're doing. Do I want the broken relationship and the no finances as a struggle when I get to 50? Do I want that? No. All right. Well, I'm not doing that. And so early on, I thought, well, I don't have anything. I don't have really great influences. I think that's probably why we got along really early on, because you were probably you were the only person in my world early on that spoke differently. You were like talking about change and potential and possibility and responsibility. And I'm like, fuck, this is good. I'm going to plug into a little bit of this. I'm going to, this is a guy I can listen to. And then, and now we've got the internet. I can plug into all of these resources. Like, someone can watch this video They could be anywhere in the world.
Yeah,
and it can be a positive message that you get to choose what you listen to now. And I think that's very, very powerful. You have to fill up your brain with messages of responsibility and possibility, so you can change your life. Otherwise, if you just listen to what other people say, I think it's one of the worst things you can do. I've made so many mistakes by sharing my problems with the wrong people. They just give you bad advice. And then it's easy to listen to that bad advice. Like, for example, Bianca, my partner, as you know, she's pregnant and we're having our first kid in April this year. So it's only 3 months away. Now, for the first trimester, she had morning sickness every day, constantly, right? Now, just imagine not being able to leave the couch for a month and a half. That's going to make anyone feel pretty fucking shit. And so anyway, the midwife said, I think you've got depression. You should go to the doctor. And I said, babe, do not go to the doctor. That is a bad idea. Now, I'm not saying don't get medicine for other people. It's not my recommendation. Like, obviously, I'm not a doctor. And there's a time and a place where medication is important. But the average person will feel depressed without being depressed. There's a big difference. Because once you say, oh, I'm depressed, now you've got an identity around it. Now you have to, it's like it becomes part of you, versus like just a wave of feeling depressed that is appropriate because of the situation you're in, that then moves away like the next couple of days. That's different. And if you're around the wrong people when you go through that wave, I think that you're screwed, because you're going to listen to them and they're going to say, like, I spoke to a young girl who was starting to feel anxiety, and her family was emotionally shut down. So of course she feels anxious. And she told her family, she goes, oh, I'm feeling anxious. And they go, oh, it's all in your head. And I said, well, how do you feel about that? She goes, oh, now I feel like something's wrong with me. I went to the doctor and they said I have an anxiety disorder. I said, well, how about this? Maybe your environment's absolutely fucked and you're fine. And you just need a new environment. You need an environment with people that are going to tell you, it's okay, that's normal, darling. Tell me what you're feeling. What's going on? How about you let it out instead of feeling ashamed that you have to hold it in?
Oh God, yeah, that's powerful stuff. I know as a professional counsellor for 35 years, the amount of times I've shifted context and the problem's just vaporized. I would say the time that I've offered a free consultation to see if I could work with somebody, within 10, 15 minutes, I've knocked it out, and there's no need to go any further. And they've been carrying it for 10, 20 years, and I've just gone. And it's because of the context. It's because of the patterns that hold these things in place. And I learned this strategy because I personally suffered anxiety and depression for 10 years, clinical depression. And one day I made a decision not to be depressed, and I haven't been depressed since. And that was quite a few years ago. So I can really appreciate what you're saying in that regard. Yeah, it's powerful stuff. And I think changing people's lives, it's when they realize that they need some input. It's not when the student is ready, the teacher appears. It's more when the student is ready, the teaching appears. So, you know, there's so many people out there, if they would just open themselves up to be open and to listen to some patterns. I think, you know, I was blessed to know you as a young child, you know, when you were small, and I've watched your progression and trajectory, and I've seen how many lives you're touching. And it's just such an honor and a privilege to be associated with you, Matt. And I have received a lot of nice compliments and things from you, and I'd like to reverse that back to you and say that in the time I've watched your videos from the Coaching Institute and you've spoken into my life, I've received those inputs with gratitude and humility. So this is Matt Lavars from the Coaching Institute, and Matt is lead trainer with the Coaching Institute, and Matt has been there, 9 years? Is that correct? Something like that?
Yeah.
I remember sitting down, I think we were at Flinders Street. I can't remember where we were. I think we were at the Spencer Street station, that's right, sitting in a cafe, and we were discussing how to leverage your business and what you were doing, and this opportunity came up. And I'm so glad that what we talked about has manifested and created your destiny. And I think your family can't deny your success. It's great. And I think they admire and respect you. They wish they could be there. I'm very close to all your family, and I've had the honour and privilege to work with some of your family through your recommendation. So those of you out there that need to learn a little bit more about life coaching to maybe enhance their personal training or other health industries, I recommend you seek Matt out. We'll have his links under the video, and he'll be able to steer in the right direction and give you some great resources, because not all coaching is talking to the person. There are resources and videos and courses you can tap into. So Matt, I know your time's valuable. I really appreciate you coming on board. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the public at this point in time?
Thank you for having me. I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and I think it's awesome what the messages that you're sharing, especially for people that are moving into that second phase of their life. You know, I think that you're a great example of what is possible if you change your thinking, and then if you create a life that enables you to really look after yourself and focus on yourself. I think that you're an inspiration to a lot of people, because you're the generation that got taught the most about not looking after yourself. Like you guys didn't get educated in that at all. And so I think that's probably why you see most people that are 60, 70, it's over. And I love having you in my life. I've got my boss, JP, who's 60 as well. And, you know, just so healthy. And that's the way it should be. It should be that you live a great life until you're 97, like your dad. And so I think that these conversations and that demonstration, I think, is the most important thing. So I trust that the people watching this that are part of your community really see that and value that.
I feel very appreciated. I feel very humbled that God's granted me health, wealth, happiness, and peace. And we do a lot of philanthropy in third world countries. We work with Many Youth Project, with rites of passage for young people that they may not exercise those addictions too much, and they can come out of that a lot quicker and start to face into adulthood at the right age. And adulthood anywhere from 16 onwards is a good idea, because it doesn't mean you can't have fun, enjoy yourself, have a beer. It just means that you take responsibility, because one of the major phases I say in my coaching is the difference between a boy and a man is a boy says, it's not my fault, or he blames somebody. An adult says, I am responsible. And they may not be responsible for the entire act or situation, but as long as they take their responsibility for their part in it. Well, Matt, thank you for coming on board. And we look forward to maybe having some more jams down the track on particular topics. So thanks so much. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell and look at what else we've got on the channel. But we're headed up to over 600 subscribers now. And we've got quite a good array of interviews coming up. And one of the key things that's coming up is a conversation about wellness language by a very profound man. So I can't wait to do that interview as well. So you talked about the languaging that goes behind things. So that's a precursor to that. Have a great day, Matt, and we'll talk soon.